people are very kind, but sometimes you'll have strangers or family members who'll say that one thing that I really don't like to say. I don't think I ever really say it either. Is like, if I were you.
Oh yeah, you don't know what you would do if you were me.
You know, if I were you, I would, or that child should be
everyone's
trained.
The expert on someone else's life.
Yes.
But what about your own, right?
Yes.
How about we just focus on our own individual lives and be the expert at that? That's plenty to focus on, believe it or not.
And we should be careful when we address people.
If I were you.
Like that, because you don't know what, as you say, my backstory or just my daily everything. I mean, it's a blessing, but then I'm like exhausted a lot of times.
Hi, and welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. I'm Kim Jacobs, your host, and I am so excited that you all have tuned in today. Today, you're in for a very special treat. You know why? I have a very special guest in the studio with me today. This is a mother of 3 children. She's a wife, been married for 7 years, and I want her to tell her story today. This woman is a mother that's raising a child with very special needs. And normally, she's behind the scenes as my operations manager for the Kim Jacobs Show. But today I forced her to come out of her comfort zone and come out and share her backstory about how she's raising a special needs child. None other than my guest, Cassandra Davis. Hey, Cassandra.
Hello.
Now you're going to cry already because your eyes are like watery.
Oh,
do not do this.
What you said. No, I'm not going to. I promise.
Okay, no. Don't promise. You can never promise anything on the Kim Jacobs Show.
Oh, wow.
I am so glad that you took me up on my offer to be
Yes.
my guest today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate coming from behind the scenes to at least bring some awareness to the challenges and the gift of raising a child with special needs.
I think your story is so worthy of being shared with the entire world. And so today as we talk, I want you to be able to impart wisdom on maybe some of the things that you've personally experienced and what you've gone through.
Yes.
And then being able to have people that are out there that are raising children with special needs. I personally am raising children with special needs as well.
Yes.
And so I know how taxing it is. I know how much effort and energy, and I know how much love, even extra love, that you have to pour into the situation so that everyone feels like they are somebody special.
Absolutely.
Okay, we definitely gonna cry.
No, you're absolutely right, because when you have more than one child, and then with my situation, the one child with a special need, it's different for the entire family. And my first 2 children, of course, I had natural childbirth. They didn't have any types of special physical ailments or anything. It was pretty much what you would consider a normal, just carrying process, birth and delivery.
Right.
This was fine. So when it came to Israel, that is my son. He's 5 years old now. I remember, I can tell you the day that I found out about the diagnosis. My husband was at work, so my oldest daughter, Brandy, she went with me for my ultrasound and checkup. And I remember I've been praying and really hard, like, please let this be a boy, let this be a boy.
Right.
For my husband, he really wanted a boy. And so we're in the room, and you know, they're doing the sonogram, we're having everything done, and I'm just like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, you know. And then I thought I saw something, but I'm not really sure, you know, when you look, looking at the screen,
the
you know.
special body parts, I've seen that 4 times, so I know exactly what the screen is showing.
Yes. And so she asked me, she said, well, do you want to know? And I was like, yeah.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. And she said, well, yes, you know, Miss Davis, it is a boy. And I was like, I almost leaped
overjoyed, you know.
I wanted to get to my phone. My daughter's like, wait, mommy, you know, or whatever. And then she kept going. And then I can tell you, it's like a matter of seconds or so, it seemed her face changed. And I don't think she meant to do that, you know, because she was kind of rejoicing with me.
Right,
you know.
celebrating.
Yeah. And
now this is the doctor you're talking about,
yes,
the nurse.
the technician, yeah, that was doing the sonogram, you know, and I saw her face just sort of shift a little bit. It got a little, like, more involved or focused on what she was looking at.
Okay.
And then I didn't know what, but I just knew in my heart, I said, something just changed. You know, so I kind of calmed down, but I remained really just cool because, you know, I have my daughter, you know, with me, and, you know, I don't want to upset her. And so she kept looking, and I just purposely didn't ask anything else.
Right.
You know,
because you already sensed
I
that
sensed
something was wrong,
and then I'm like, okay, this is not the situation to have her, you know, talk to me, you know, or whatever. So she finished everything, and she said exactly what I knew she was going to say. She said, you know, you can get dressed and everything, and just go back out to the waiting room, and then the doctor's going to see you. And I said, okay, you know, that's fine. So I knew then, you know, so I just had a feeling.
Right.
And so I asked my daughter, who's a teenager at the time, I said, okay, you can wait in the waiting room. I said, because, you know, just watch my stuff.
Right, but that's only because really you didn't want to put her in a position of having to hear some news.
Because I didn't know what I was going to.
For the first time without you knowing what you were going to receive. Okay.
And although I really felt like I needed some moral support, but
but she's a teenager. It's like, I don't put this on you right now.
Yeah,
right.
So she couldn't tell anything. And then I went back, and that's when they pulled up everything, and they started explaining to me that they were very certain that Israel, you know, had Down syndrome. Okay. They could see just from, he had an extra, you could see the thickness of the skin on the back of his neck. Okay. And you could see those extra layers from the sonogram, and they were just going through all of the possibilities and everything that they could see. But not only that, and then they said, well, then we also are going to need you from this office to go upstairs to see the cardiologist, because we also are very certain that we found, you know, an abnormality with his heart, and that needs to be
correction as well.
Checked today.
Okay.
You know, so I had to actually go up there and have, you know, some other stuff done that day. I couldn't leave. Right. You know, and so then I had to kind of, you know, explain to my daughter. I just said to her, well, they're just looking at some things with this heart, and, you know.
So you still had to be mom for the teenager.
And I had such a lump, and I was just like, and I'm like, I'm not calling my husband in the middle.
Not at work to
these two things. So I felt tingly or something. It's like I was in a bubble. You know, that I'm going, you're telling me, because I'm like, what is it? I mean, I've heard of Down syndrome, and I've seen children and everything, but I'm going, the whole time I'm in the elevator going, what? And
why is this happening? Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
I just want to know, what does this mean? Right. Because I'm going, so what does this mean? You know, and we go upstairs, and then.
So before you go upstairs, let me just visualize. Now, you went for your sonogram. Your daughter, which is Brandy, she's 13 years, how old was she at the time?
At the time, let's see, Brandy was almost 14, yeah.
So 13 years old, and she's coming with mommy to get the ultrasound, and you know that everything's going smoothly because you can feel the baby.
Oh, you know what? Let's say, you know, I'm saying she was much younger than. No, actually, Brandy was 16.
16.
Yeah, 16. Okay. Yeah, going to, almost 17. Yeah.
So she was an older teenager, and she's coming for to provide moral support for mommy, just to find out, hey, what the baby's going to be, and together you guys are going to have that girl bonding moment, that mommy daughter moment, and then you get told this information that Israel, who is your son now, 5 years old, is actually being diagnosed at that moment in your womb with Down syndrome, right?
Yes, and actually very critical in my womb with his heart condition.
Because he also has a heart condition that's on top of the Down syndrome.
Yes.
So and now you're upstairs at the cardiology office to now take us where you're going to continue.
Yes, I learned there that the heart condition was actually a more critical situation than the Down syndrome.
Right.
and they were explaining, so many things. Wow, here he comes. They were explaining.
And you promised we're not going to cry.
Right.
You're not going to promise anything on the Kim Jacobs
I
show.
know,
We have tissue right here.
But they explained so many things at one time as to, well, they had to. It's all of the things that can just go wrong, and that's their job. So it's like I went from almost an hour before being so happy that I was actually giving my husband a son, and then I found out, that my whole family dynamic is about to change, because I'm going, well, what do I do? So I'm just really trying to find out, well, what do I do? So, I had to literally go every week to have them hook me up to different things to check his heart. And, it's like everything about this pregnancy shifted. And then they also asked me, even at that point, if I wanted to, did I want to continue with.
Oh, so they actually asked. I've never had that officially happen.
They give
5 children I've given birth to, and I never had any physician or technician or anyone give that option of, do you want to continue with your pregnancy?
They have to, and they're very, very sensitive in how they bring that up.
Okay.
But it's like it's a part of what they do when there's a situation when they know that there's something wrong, and they have to tell you that this pregnancy may not go full term, or there may be something wrong right after delivery. So you get the option. They tell you there's that option if you want to continue.
Aww.
And
I'm so glad.
I'm
so glad you continued.
Oh, there wasn't any doubt.
Glad.
I didn't care about anything.
I'm grateful.
He's mine already. Yes,
because clearly not every person will continue.
Yeah. And I don't
judge one way
anyone
or the other, but I'm just saying I'm grateful that you did continue.
Oh yeah, because that's big news.
Because I actually have the opportunity of knowing Israel at this point. So.
Oh yes, my wonder baby, but that was our journey, and until labor and delivery, and that's when I got used to the checkups,
Okay.
But I can tell you, I fell into. It's like I wouldn't call it a depression. But I lived in this hypersensitive mode or whatever, because you
didn't know what was going to happen.
I didn't know what was going to happen, so I didn't really know what to feel. We all were a little concerned,
Okay.
And the labor and delivery was different because they had me like hooked to so many things, and I didn't get the opportunity to hold him or anything like my other 2 births, because I gave birth and he went straight to the NICU.
Yeah, that's what I was going to try to determine. How was the delivery process different?
Oh yes.
For Israel's birth with Down syndrome versus your other 2 daughters' birth?
Yeah,
How did that process work?
My daughters, I gave birth to them. They gave them to me. It was the immediate skin to skin. Just.
Oh, there was no immediate skin to skin.
I did not hold Israel until I want to say it was the next day, late evening, when I was able to get down to the NICU. But he was whisked away immediately, and my husband didn't get to hold him either. But he couldn't even stay with me any period of time because he wanted to. I'm like, no, you go with our child. He followed them to the NICU, because they had to hook him to so many things. And I just, and it took a little while before I knew what, if anything, like, is he breathing? Is he, okay? And he was just, so vulnerable. So they had him in something like a little bubble and, just kind of hooked. And at first I could just put my hands in, when I was able to get to, they brought me down to a room and got me all squared away. And then late that evening, they let me go down and I could do that. And then it was the next day that I was actually able to take him out and, kind of hold him. But it was, just challenging because it was just so much stuff.
Yeah, all
so much stuff. Yeah.
Now, you know how like people come and visit the hospital and celebrate the birth of your child, and they bring gifts and all of that. How did that work out with people coming to visit and Israel being in the NICU? Were family members very supportive, or were people more standoffish? How did that whole process look?
Everyone was very, very, very supportive. Israel was born on a Friday, and I remember my husband he went to church that Sunday because he just I said, no, you go and you let them know, we are still in the game here.
Yes.
We are still in the game here.
Yes.
And I had to actually go home first, and I had to leave Israel. And that was new for me. I never left the hospital without my baby.
Right.
Those first
Your two
two
daughters
births,
went home with you.
They went with me, but it's weird, calling back or going back the next morning, and the nurse told me to rest. She said, Miss Davis, could you
You're like, I cannot rest, my baby's here.
Like, can you not call me? And I'm like, he's up there and I'm home. It doesn't seem, we're taking very good care of him. But once I brought him home, that was also different because.
Well, when you're saying you brought him home, how long after delivery were you able to actually bring him home?
Thankfully, not a long time, about 4 days.
Oh, yes. That's okay.
4 days.
Good.
He began to get his color, and he showed some strength, and his SATs were, high enough that he could leave the hospital. And but home health in that time had come out, and they brought in this big tank for oxygen and several tanks of oxygen and everything.
Set everything up in the home to make sure he was comfortable.
That he would be
now,
comfortable.
this is for the Down syndrome for the.
This is strictly for his heart.
For his heart,
yeah,
okay.
This is strictly for
so
his
the Down
heart.
syndrome, all of the tanks and the oxygen and everything, that was nothing to do with the Down syndrome. That was strictly to do with
his
the heart condition.
Now, granted, this type of heart abnormality is typical for children with Down syndrome.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to ask.
But there are
of heart?
children who sometimes don't. He had to have a complete AB canal repair,
Okay.
so they literally had to go in and do like full open heart surgery on him because all of the canals didn't open properly. So,
but he made it through.
He did.
He made it
through.
My
gosh, did he?
Oh my goodness.
So that was different. Bringing home a child and having a little mini NICU in your home, because when I actually got him home, he had a feeding tube, so I didn't get to breastfeed with Israel or anything. And everywhere we went, there was a diaper bag and an oxygen tank on my back, But I will tell you, for several months, he was so tiny and not strong enough. They weren't able to do the open heart surgery immediately. They were like, we got to get him to double digits as far as his weight because it kept going up and down.
Right.
But while he was born April 26th of 2013, and he came home about 4 days later, but a week later we were back in the hospital because he went into like a mild heart failure, and we had to go back, and we were there for like a week. And then I brought him home, and then I think it was all the stress, but I had some very difficult issues suddenly, all of a sudden, for the first time in my life with hypertension, with my high blood pressure. I had to be put in the hospital for a week, and my very sick child was home. My mom came, and and they were doing everything to take care of him there. But wouldn't you know it, that I stayed in that hospital through Mother's Day. I was there Mother's Day Sunday, and I was there for like 7 days. The day I got home, I was so happy to be there, and I walk into the nursery, Maria Israel, and I said, something's not right. Because I'm examining him from head to toe, and his lips were too blue. And I said, oh gosh, this is no. His lips can't be. And I'm like, he's so
cold and clammy type of thing.
And Mom said, that kind of started yesterday, but she didn't know. So I whisked him up, and I'm like, can somebody get me back to the, and they were like, oh gosh, they had to readmit him immediately. His SATs had dropped. They were like low 80s. He was not getting enough oxygen. And, then they all felt like, well, we were watching him, but
they don't know what to look for at that level. But Mom knew.
But I'm already reading and looking at, every week.
Even though you're just coming home from the hospital, so you have family, and how important and invaluable that is. That family would step in and help while you're in the hospital.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you come home and recognize that he has some additional issues happening, and rush him back to the hospital as well. So now at this point, Israel's 5 years old, and you have this beautiful family dynamics, and I would love for people to learn a little bit more about your family. So tell us your backstory on.
Oh yeah.
You're married for 7 years, but you have this this grown adult woman.
She's 22 now.
She's 22 years old. So tell us how you and your husband met. Tell us about your children. Tell us about Israel today.
Yes.
And how he's functioning and how things are going with him.
Yes, my husband and I, his name is Selwyn. We actually
That made you show your dimple, by the way. You're like, his name is Selwyn.
we went to high school together, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we
Well,
actually.
you my operations manager, and I don't know this. This is crazy.
Well, I'll say this. He went to my high school for 1 year and decided to go over to the rival school for the remaining time. So, but we had 1
Now I'm acting
year
like
of
we're
high
at the movies.
school
I'm like,
together.
girl, like I put some popcorn on.
But see, he was a jock, football player the whole. I mean, he wouldn't have given me a second look in high school because I always teased him. You were dating cheerleaders. I was anything but that, you know.
Look at you.
So we had a
queen.
class together, and we would talk and chat, but he would have never asked me out in high school at all. And we actually bumped into each other like 20 years later here when I moved to Charlotte, and I don't know, the rest is history. Here we are.
So tell me about your family dynamics today. How is everything in the family? How, I know you met your husband. You've been married for 7 years,
Yes.
but you know you have this 22-year-old daughter. So
Yes.
tell us how that all culminated.
Wow, yeah. My husband, like I said, we've been married for 7 years, and I had Brandy prior to being married, but we're one big, happy, blended family. And she's 22 right now. She'll be 23 in April. All of my children were born in April, so I have
I didn't know. I'm learning
three
so much
of
about my own
children.
operations manager on this show.
Yes.
Is that crazy or what? That means that we need to do a lot more talking, going out to eat
I
more.
know, personal talk,
I'm like,
right?
what? Yeah, not just me saying, hey, do we get this book? Do we do that? We need to go out and officially sit down and
Yes.
we learn that all of your children are born
All
in
of
April.
them, yes, Skylar is April 8th of 2012. Brandy is April 25th of 1996, and Israel is April 26th of 2013. He could have actually been born on her birthday, but I just let the clock run out on midnight, and I'm like, okay, it's time to go.
And your daughter, Brandy, when I say gorgeous, I mean this young lady is drop dead gorgeous. She was actually Miss Livingstone
Yes.
last year, right?
Yeah, yes, she was Miss Livingstone in 2017.
Okay,
Yes.
Miss Livingstone College in 2017, and I mean this picture says it all. This picture says it all. So you have to take a look at this.
Yes, Brandy is an amazing young lady. She really is. She's very strong because, you know, back before I was married, when we first moved to Charlotte, I actually suffered a major brain aneurysm. And
Before you were married, and I
Yes.
did know about the brain aneurysm.
yes,
and
before
the state
I
and
was
stuff.
married, so she had to deal with that, you know, me being a single mom and really understanding that she could lose me because it was definitely a rupture, and she had to. So that's why I was very careful with her when it came to
Finding
the
out
information about Israel,
Right.
you know. So because she's had to really deal with a lot with that because I had a second aneurysm right after. They found a second one right after I gave birth to Israel as well. So, you know, so she just kind of had to deal with so much the possibility of losing a very close loved
Right,
one and
right.
having to be strong through that.
But you made it,
I
and
made
you're
it.
here,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you've survived 2 aneurysms.
Yes.
And you're raising 3 wonderful children
Yes.
that now have gone on, one to become an adult
Yes.
in her own right, and she's doing wonderful things.
Yes.
And then you have Skylar. Tell us a little bit about
Skylar's
Skylar.
my 6-year-old. She wants to be just like her 22-year-old
Oh, and they
sister.
look just alike anyway.
I know, it's so weird. They look
Like the
just
same
alike.
people.
But Skylar is my, oh wow, she's my different little one in the sense that she's more talkative than Brandy ever was, but then she's shy at the same time. But she already knows what she wants. She's going to be a scientist, and she says she's going to mix up potions that turn
yes.
rabbits into rainbows.
Yes.
I'm not sure how she's going
She
to
told
do
me
that.
all about that. Now I do
Yes.
know her entire lot and plot and plight in life.
Yes.
Her goal is very simple. And anything that we talk about, she's like, you know, that's called technology.
Yes.
That's called engineering. That's called a potion. Do you not know that? That's what she says to me. Do you not know that that's called a potion? I said, oh my goodness. I mean, if I thought about it, that children your age are saying words at this level, then I know that you're going to be the scientist that you hope to become one day.
Absolutely.
And she said, oh, I already know that. I was just hoping that you would learn. I was like, so it's like I'm having a conversation with an adult, you know?
Oh yeah, she's very serious.
She's very organized in her
serious about
thought process.
But yeah, she's great. She's in first grade at Mallet Creek STEM Academy, and she's doing well there. And then Israel, my 5-year-old, he started his first year of kindergarten.
I'm so excited about that
It was
too.
really amazing. It was challenging in the sense that you have to find, when you have a child with special needs, specifically Down syndrome, depending on what county you're in, you have to find a school that can accommodate his needs, and it's not always going to be the school that you're zoned for. So you really have to go to your school district office, and they look at what would be the best fit for him. And
this is good advice. This is good advice for my listening, my viewing audience, because so what I really want my audience to be able to hear is that you could possibly have a child with Down syndrome and they not be able to go to the school that the school district zoning is happening within, right?
Yes.
So then how did that process work for you?
Well, I had to, the school then sent me down to the school district office to meet with basically a special needs coordinator for the district. And then they look at what is closest in proximity and what would be a good fit for him, and then you go to that school, and that's where you can register your child. And I can tell you, we were very blessed. It took us we went to one school, and they couldn't, and then we tried another school, and he went for like 2 days, but they didn't have the manpower, so to speak, 2 teachers in a classroom kind of thing. So the third school, it's been the best place ever for him. He's like the mayor of the school.
And how long is he there?
He's there all day. He can go all day. He's there.
So from the time regular school hours, he's there.
He's there.
And he's being well cared for by the staff.
Yes, he was mainstreamed into a regular kindergarten classroom to start.
Good.
And I was able to, the school district helped me to get an aide that was specifically assigned to him. So that aide, she was there waiting for me when I pulled up in the car rider line. She got him from the car because Israel's not capable, even though he's 5, he cannot walk to his classroom by himself.
Like just undirected or unsupervised or anything.
To be, and because of his health needs, because you have to also consider he has allergies to dairy and red dyes, and he has choking issues when he's eating. So he can't just go to the cafeteria like any kid and get his tray and
so he has a personal assistant assigned to him the entire school day.
Yes.
That's an awesome school.
She's a CNA, and the school district helped me to
take care of that.
To get that done.
That is incredible. That is an incredible service.
They did that for him until he got to a certain point, and about right at the end of this year, at end of December, then we took him from the mainstream. Once we figured out what his needs really were, now he's in what's called an EC classroom, which it's just 6 other kids. They have different disabilities. He's the only one in there with Down syndrome.
Oh, interesting.
But I was able to get like the special chair for him and the special eating utensils in that particular classroom.
Excellent.
And this way it doesn't take away from the time that the regular teacher would be teaching the class and having to watch him, because although he's 5 physically age, with his age, but developmentally more so like 3 or 4, just cognitively. So he needs additional help. But I tell people that it's a blessing and a challenge, because you know how your kids grow up real fast on you. It's like whatever. But I got to carry him and hold him, because he's growing a lot slower, so he stayed little a long time.
And so people are looking at you probably like, I mean, that's an older child. Can you put him down and let him go? But they don't know your story.
But they don't understand,
and they don't understand
that
what's
he
happening.
Can't, even though he looked big enough, but he wasn't balanced with his walking. So when he's 3, I'm carrying him, and he's still in the stroller because he wasn't walking the way that he needed to walk or whatever. But for me, it's challenging and it's a lot of work. But I got to still have that baby sort of time with him. And people are very kind, but sometimes you'll have strangers or family members who will say that one thing that I really don't like to say, I don't think I ever really say it either, is like, if I were you.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what you would do if you were me.
If I were you, I would, or that child should be
everyone's the expert on someone else's life.
Yes.
But what about your own, right?
Yes.
How about we just focus on our own individual lives and be the expert at that? That's plenty to focus on, believe it or not.
And we should be careful when we address people
if I were you
like that, because you don't know what, as you say, my backstory or just my daily everything. I mean, it's a blessing, but then I'm like exhausted a lot of times because he's physically stronger.
Yeah, I mean he is strong.
Yes.
Israel is as strong almost as a man.
Yes.
So I get to witness you in different settings, and I notice that you're like doing little certain kind of tactics or techniques maybe that you've been trained. And I know that people that are watching the show, not everyone has a child that has Down syndrome. Actually, only 1 in 700 babies in the United States, according to the Center for Disease Control, is diagnosed with Down syndrome. So this may or may not apply to you, but you may know someone that's raising a child with Down syndrome, and you'll know how to approach the person, how to show yourself to be helpful to the individual, what to say, what not to say. Because I notice sometimes people are like, I've observed people come up to you and say, "Oh, just give me that child. I got him. I know how to work with him." It's like,
do you?
Yeah. So I would like for you to just kind of share some words of wisdom.
Yes.
To be able to shed light for people that are watching on what are some things to say and what are some things not to say to a parent raising a child with Down syndrome.
I think it's important sometimes if you see a mother sort of struggling a little bit, it's nicer to me, for me personally.
This is just for you personally, but it does help everyone. Look,
I would just like to hear, how can I help you?
How can I help? Do you hear that?
How can I help you?
How can I help?
Because I can better tell you what I need in this moment because I know my child. And it might just be, well, can you grab the bags or can you do this so that I can kind of keep his hands steady because...
So I've done that actually. Well, let me commend myself.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I have actually.
You'll say what do you need.
I'll say what specifically do you need right now.
What do you need?
So I didn't even know this training that you're giving, but I just wanted to know what I can do to help you, just to take some level of the load off.
You just
you're like an octopus. Right, you're like trying.
Yeah, you're doing so much and trying to keep them whatever. But he's only in, and I don't appreciate. I'm just going to say I don't appreciate. He's a handful. He's very busy. But it's because he's nonverbal, so he does not have other ways to express himself. I think if he could tell me, what's wrong,
I'm trying to get you to give me my juice, Mom, and you're sitting here trying to still pat me on my back and give me a cracker or something. I'm thirsty or whatever the case. We don't know what's happening.
No, we don't.
We don't.
And so when people tell me, it makes me feel like I'm not doing something right. As a mom, when you just sort of tell me what he should be doing or what you would do, if I were you, he should be this, or give me that child and I'll have him for 2 days and he'll be, some stellar child. And I'm going, well, in 2 days, are you going to zap away Down syndrome? Because that's the only way he's going to change if he doesn't have this diagnosis. So don't tell me that. That's the kind of stuff I don't appreciate. Or when people say, why are you letting him? Why are you letting him do that? Why would I let him, case in point, you're my pastor's wife, you're my first lady at church. I don't let him scream out in church. I'm not letting him. That's his way
of communicating.
And I'm grateful so much even to Pastor Jacobs, because it doesn't, I never get a look from the pulpit or some sort of, whatever to say, like maybe get somebody to take him out. And I'm so grateful that I've never been asked to take him out.
Never.
And sometimes I'm gracious enough to say maybe it is a bit much now, just kind of get him to calm down. But that's
your
my
choice.
decision.
Never ours.
But people will say, why are you letting him? When you have a child with Down syndrome, you're not letting them do anything. They're just doing what they're capable
of doing at that moment. And even though I heard you say something, you said that he's nonverbal, which means that he does not really formulate a bunch of words.
He has a very small vocabulary, and it's typically things that are really repetitive, like mommy, daddy, or his favorite song.
I was going to say, I hear him every single Sunday in church.
But you know what? It's because Pastor repeated that so many Sundays back
That's
to
all
back.
Time he sees me or my husband, which is their pastor and pastor's wife. Time Israel sees us, he just stops everything he's doing and he does what?
Do it. He literally
says that the whole time, no matter what I'm saying to him.
Yes.
I'm like, hi Israel, are you having a great day? He says,
do it.
And all he's saying is like, there's this one song in our church where the choir will sing and they say, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And only God can do it. And so this is like infused into Israel's spirit. So he doesn't say anything else that I hear him talking about except for do it, do it, do it, do it. And I wish I had a clip of that. I don't know if I can find one, but
it's just because of the repetitiveness of it, you know, and whatever he hears constantly, he may remember, but he is not going to say a sentence or have a full conversation because he doesn't have the vocabulary.
But he clearly has the comprehension to be able to learn something, and to the point where he's
going to talk.
Oh,
he's
yes.
going to talk to me.
Well, that's where our faith, and obviously on this particular show, I can talk about my personal faith, and our personal faith is that we believe that God can change any situation and he can transform situations. So things that may baffle the physicians and that may say, you know, this is never going to happen. Miraculously, things do happen that were never projected to happen or predicted to happen for a particular person. So we're going to continue to keep that faith and belief that Israel will have full sentences in due time.
Yes.
So I am, when I say grateful to have you on the show today to talk about your story of raising Israel as a child with Down syndrome, it seems like the journey has been a long one.
It changes daily.
And it changes. You summarize it yourself. How is it?
It changes. We do it our way every day. And that...
Explain doing it our way. What is doing it our way when you have a 23-year-old now?
22.
She's 22-year-old. That's going to be 23 in April. That's right, Brandy. Then you have a 6-year-old, Skylar. You're married to Selwyn, and he's actively involved in the church. He's the chief administrator and working a job and constantly trying to balance all of that.
Yes.
And then you have Israel with Down syndrome as a 5-year-old. What does that doing it our way look like from your perspective?
It's our day starts at about, the clock goes off at about 5 o'clock. We're usually moving, or I am, by 5:30. And when I tell you, it's, although we try to have some consistency, it literally is so different every day. And people don't realize, maybe, you know, just from the outside when you see me when I leave the house, because like even right now I'm sitting here on your show, but you know, there's good challenges, and I call them good challenges because that's our life. It's not a bad thing. But what it takes for me to get out of the house and to get everyone settled, and everybody has that, but our way is different every day. I can't move a peg to this is checked off and this is checked off because, you know, one morning it might be an extra breathing treatment, or this morning it might be spit up. You know, or the spit up may happen on the way to school when I pull up. And children typically with Down syndrome, young children, they have a sensory thing where they take off their socks and shoes constantly. So, and I'm telling you, there's so many moms that know this that have children. I met a mom in Walmart one day, and it was in the winter. It was cold. And I usually feel bad because people are looking at me because it looks like I brought my kid out with no socks and shoes on.
Right.
But it's because he's taken them off 10 times in the store, just sitting in the buggy. And I saw her, and her little girl had hers off, and she clearly, you know, she had Down syndrome. And we looked at each other, and we just exchanged this
empathetic,
smile. Like we knew. We
Right.
don't have our kids out here in 30-degree weather.
Right.
They're in the buggy. We got them. We'll slip the socks on, you know, but I have to get groceries, so I can't worry about, you know, what that looks like. And you know what I said to her, and I said, do you have extra shoes too? She was like, oh my gosh, yes. Right now in my car there's 3 pairs of shoes.
To be able
because
to
sometimes he throws one off out of the buggy and I don't know.
You don't even know, so now you have one shoe.
I got a lot of one shoes.
Cassandra,
I have a lot,
Cassandra, this is the best. This was the best gift you could have given me, is coming on my show.
Oh wow.
Coming on our show, on the Kim Jacobs show, and just being my guest today, not being the operations manager, but being Cassandra, the wonderful person that you are. So I'm so grateful to have you.
Having me.
Thank you. Wow. Now it's going to be back to work in a different capacity, but our paths are forever intertwined. And you know my story, which I haven't shared all of my story with everyone, but I'm raising children with disability as well. And so you know my story, and we connect on a different level. But I just want to thank you all for tuning in to today's show. Please make sure you tune in to the next episode. Please make sure you join the Mother Dreamer movement that I've started by going to motherdreamer.com. Cassandra is a Mother Dreamer. She's a member of the Mother Dreamer movement. And this is an example of the type of mothers that are a part of the program. And the program gives us the opportunity to work with like-minded mothers who have goals and dreams that we want to see become a reality. Thank you for sharing your family with us today.
Thank you for allowing me to do that. Thank you so much.
And thank you for tuning in to the Kim Jacobs Show. Have a great day.